It's really important to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic. Doing this is hard. You have to have optimism. You have to get up in the morning after sleeping 2 hours, going to bed 2 hours earlier. You have to get up in the morning. You have to say, okay, baby, we're going forward here. But when you make assumptions, I'll give some examples. When you make assumptions, you must be pessimistic. Okay, I talked to that investor, and he said he was going to call me back 2 weeks ago. He hasn't called me back now. You worry about this stuff. Make the assumption that the investor is not going to call you back. Make the assumption that the company that you're talking to, who is interested maybe in buying your idea or supporting you or giving you money for your idea, make the assumption that it's not going to happen. And try to maintain on top of this an optimism as well. That's the hard thing to do. That's the really hard thing to do. Be pessimistic about your assumptions. Assume they're not going to happen. And move forward on the basis of not allowing yourself to assume something. And then wonderful things tend to happen when they happen. Okay? Now this thing that managed to get stuck here on the bottom is just a little a parting thought about speaking about myself and my experience with 5-6 startups. You're going to get frustrated, and bad thoughts are going to come into your head about the guy who didn't call you up, and we were talking to this guy who we were trying to hire, but then he never came. You're going to get bad thoughts in your head. I'm not a psychologist, but I think it's really important advice. When you get a bad thought in your head, you haven't got time for bad thoughts because they take up too much energy. You got too much work to do to make your company happen. So when you get a bad thought, label it. Just take the 10 milliseconds necessary to say, this is a bad thought. If you just do that, you can get over it and set it away. Just label the bad thought. This is a technique that I use. I'm telling you, you may think I'm crazy. It does really work. You know, that guy, he really screwed me up because he promised to do this. You get this thing in your head, this engine runs where you're tired and you're working hard, and get it out of your head. And the way you do that is by labeling it. Just saying, that's a bad thought, and it's not constructive. Why? Because you have to give yourself the opportunity. No one's going to give you the opportunity. You have to give yourself the opportunity to create your advantage, your unique personal advantage. And if you get bad things and frustration flowing around in your head, it's not going to happen. You're going to get dragged down. And there certainly are a million reasons to be frustrated in doing this.